to In My Mug, episode 342 on Monday, the 1st of June 2015. Can you not tell it's June? I don't know if you can hear that. Rain. I am your host, Stephen Layton. Welcome to In My Mug. I don't think rain is news, is it? Let's do news. Roland Glue is back this week, and he's back with his daft fact. I know you've missed him. Dale's fact I didn't get last week at all. We have a very unusual and rare varietal called Lorena gone on the site from Escondida in Nicaragua. We have a tiny amount of it, and it is super expensive, so it's not going to be in my mug. But this naturally low caffeinated varietal was in the news a few years back. You may have seen something about, decaf, naturally grown. It's this very old varietal called Lorena, and you should check it out. It's weird as weird can be. The beans look weird. It's weird coffee. And so many new coffees going on the site. I don't know if you've been and had a look, but you should definitely go check out the site if you haven't for a while. There's been so many new things go on there. New Costas, new Nicks. El Salvador's will be here very soon. It's all very exciting. And that was the news. So we should get to focus on. And this week's focus on is on the varietal called Ethiosar. So, I'm not going to talk this week. The varietal Ethiosar has been invented by a guy called Ricardo, and I'm going to let him talk now.
So my uncle and I started reproducing it more. We have small amount of plantations with this because we only started from 2009.
Yeah.
And remember, it takes 2 years to give you a seed. So from 2013, last year, I started planting more coffee of that. And I'm doing my farm completely on this variety.
So you say you saw a mutation on the farm. What variety was that mutation from?
Yes, that was from Ethiopia, and some Sarchimor that has a little bit of Katimor, and then we crossed it back to be a Sarchi to take away the Katimor. So it's got a very small amount of Katimor. I will say maybe 8, 9, 10%. And that's what gives us the resistant to Roya in high production.
Okay.
So we're very excited. That's the Pacamara Amarillo. It started that way also. The Javanica started the same way too.
Yeah.
So we see a particular tree that we really like, and we see all the benefits that it has, the production, resistant, and obviously the cup. And then we get it from there.
And what kind of yield are you getting per manzana?
We're getting 60, 65, up to 70 quintales per manzana.
Wow, I mean that's super high, where you would expect it to be around about 30 to 40. Would that be a normal kind of yield?
It would be a normal, yes.
Yeah.
And with less plants per area. We put 2,800 plants in a manzana, which with Caturra you do up to 4,000 plants. So you have to fertilize more plants.
Yes.
To get those yields. With 2,900 plants, it's less fertilizer and better yields. Because you can see the bandolas, they're very long. This was planted, I think it was 2010. So it's only a 3 years old tree. See? So we're excited about it, and we're planting that in an altitude anything from 1,000 meters to 800 meters.
Wow.
And that's when we get more affected by the Roya at that area.
Sure, the higher the temperatures, it seems to be that's affecting the rust a lot more, isn't it? And obviously lower is warmer.
Yeah. And then we do from 1,000 meters higher, we do more exotic varieties like Java, Catoy Amarillo, Catoy Rojo, Pacamara Amarillo, and those other varieties.
And obviously I've only cupped two cups of these yesterday, and they cupped amazing. What is the general consensus of opinion on the cup profile of this varietal?
It starts in the farm. We start controlling the quality at the farm.
Yeah.
Try to pick it as the red possible, the mature possible, and we do some selecting before we dispulp it.
Right.
So we take the bad out.
Yeah.
It takes us more labor to do it, but it's worth it at the end.
what joy. It's nice to not have to think about a focus on. So let's get on this week's coffee. This week's coffee is Nicaraguan Ethiosar from Limoncillo. And Limoncillo was a coffee that we bought, first of all, back in 2003 from the Cup of Excellence. I've told you this story a million times. But from the very first time that I cupped Limoncillo, I knew I absolutely loved this farm and I had to be involved with it. It was only after the auction closed that I found out that it was owned by the father of two brothers who I knew in Nicaragua, and probably the only two people that I could possibly ever know in Nicaragua, Erwin and Stephen Maresh, who are great friends before we bought their coffee. Now we buy their coffee, we're even better friends. Although I haven't seen Stephen for a number of years. You know, we've seen Erwin here in my mug. Go back to some of the other episodes. The farm is 171 hectares in size. It is huge, and it is located in Matagalpa towards the northwest of Nicaragua. It is a beautiful farm, and a beautiful farm for many, many reasons. 9 of them are because of the 9 waterfalls that are on the farm. It's owned by the Maresh family as a whole, so there's 2 sisters, 2 brothers, and Dr. Maresh. I don't even know Dr. Maresh's first name, nor should I, because he is a true, proper doctor. He's a gynecologist and a gentleman who demands huge amounts of respect, but he's also a very, very competent, that sounds awful, great farmer, and understands, and a real engineer as well. So as Ricardo was telling us, this varietal is called Ethiosar, and it is a cross with the Ethiopian varietal Rum Sadam and Sachimor, which is a cross of Villasachi and the Timor varietal. And then the offspring of that plant was then crossed again with Villasachi, Caturra Bourbon from Costa Rica, and it just has so much stuff going on in it. It is crazy and was used by the Irish Barista Champion last year, Pete C. Williams, who did very well. So, country's Nicaragua, comes from the Matagalpa region. Farm is called Limoncillo, owned by the Maresh family, 171 hectares. 109 hectares of that is coffee. It is a Ethiosar varietal. It is a fully washed, comes from an altitude of 1,200 metres above sea level. And it's downright damn delicious, and I cannot wait to start drinking it. But before I have to start drinking it, I have to clear up something. Some of you think that I've killed Roland. I haven't. He's alive. So let's hear from him with his daft fact of the week.
In Nicaragua, 36% of the population is under the age of 14, and the median age is 21 years.
Nice to see him back, isn't it? Time for this week's wonderful, wonderful map bit. Welcome to this week's wonderful, wonderful map bit, where we've got a little bit of extra information because we're going to be using Limoncillo a few times, I think. So thought we'd make this one a little bit more in depth. We're going across the Atlantic and we're going to the wonderful country of Nicaragua. You see just above it, you've got Honduras, above there Guatemala, just below it Costa Rica and Panama. And let's get down into Nicaragua. You see Managua there on the star, that's the capital city. And here's our little silly fact about Nicaragua. There are no street names in Nicaragua address system. Addresses are given by using reference points or landmarks. So quite difficult to send a letter, I guess. Let's get down to the farm, and all of what you can see there is the farm. There is a lot of tree coverage there though. Highest point of Nicaragua is the Mogoton Mountain at 2,438 metres above sea level, and the lowest point, of course, is the Pacific Ocean, which is at 0, because it's sea level. Duh. Right, so the land area of Nicaragua, it's very kind of quite big country for Central America, 120 square kilometres, 120,000 square kilometres even, 120 square kilometres won't be very big. And the land use, a lot of it is used for crops and for cattle. So you've got arable 15%, permanent crops 1.94%, and other 82%, which is stuff like cities, forests, all sorts of wonderful things like that. So this is at the top of the mountain looking down the valley. Where the pinpoint is actually the farm buildings. Let's see if we can kind of get into those farm buildings, and let's just highlight those as well. So let's put a little line around them. So that's the main farm buildings. Just to the right of that, you've actually got the waterfall, one of 7 waterfalls on the farm, but the tree coverage just means you can't actually see them. And that was the slightly longer but slightly more interesting map bit. Okay, so time to go and get delicious, tasty coffee from out there, and come back to you and talk about it, I think. I'll be back in a jiffy. Not in a jiffy bag, just a jiffy. Okay, so I'm back. This week's coffee has actually been made on a machine that we're testing out. It's a Sage dual boiler machine with a grinder built into it and stuff. You may have seen on the telly Heston Blumenthal advertising this machine. We've been sent a couple of them to play with, so we thought we'd make the coffee on there just to test it out at the same time. So not made on our normal big professional kit, but really on a home machine. But see. So the first thing, I know it comes flooding back to me every time I taste it, but I remember the first time I tasted this is just how clean it is. It's super zingy, so it has a real kind of citrus-like, zesty, bright acidity. It's really kind of like, and what it also reminds me of is like, I'm a bit of a beer head. I love my hops. I love my beer, and it reminds me of that hoppy kind of like, you know, when you get a really super mega hoppy IPA and it's like suck it on a hop, you really get that kind of bitterness in there. And people think bitterness is a bad thing, yet when it comes to beer, we suddenly love it all of a sudden. I love a bit of bitterness in my coffee. Now it has to be balanced, and it's balanced with this really kind of bright acidity and super clean. And don't get bitterness confused with roastiness. This is not a roast thing that's going on there. This is just purely a natural bitterness that is within the coffee. So into milk. And I'm a bit disappointed there because I'm expecting it to do what it's doing in the espresso, that bitter, I don't think I've said bitter as many times in a podcast, but you know, that beautiful sharpness, that beautiful bitterness coming through isn't coming through in the milk. It kind of just sits in the background going, meh, meh. It's very, very disappointing in the milk. But we should go to the brewed, which I know this is my favourite way of drinking it, so. See, now that's weird because I'm talking about citrus, I'm talking about bitterness, and in the brewed, it's there. Of course it's there. It's not going to disappear straight away. But what it does bring out is that there's a little bit more sweetness there. It's a little bit more kind of caramelly. The normal kind of caramelliness that I would expect from the normal Limoncillo Catura. This Ethiosar it's very different. This is only the second ever commercial offering of it, so it's still pretty brand new. You know, we're still learning lots about it. I'm interested to see how this plant develops over time as well, because what we've seen is, you know, varietals the first few years, you know, they tend to be much more sharper, much more kind of cleaner, and then sweetness develops over time in the experience that I've had, which is very limited. Like, let's not pretend I'm like some sage who has all this, but I remember with Escondida, the first time we tasted Escondida, which was brand new planted varietal stock, how much sharper and brighter and cleaner that tasted, and this reminds me very much of that now, where Escondida has kind of sweetened over years, and I'd love to see where and how this is going to go. I mean, maybe Ethiosar, this is it. This is what we see. But at the minute, we just get this super bright, zingy acidity with a lovely balanced bitterness, and like a craft beer hoppy IPA. So time to shut up, I think. Thank you very much for joining me, as always. And do remember, life is definitely too short for bad coffee, so you shouldn't have any. You should just have good stuff like this.